Hello and welcome to this episode of Demystified as we explore home cooking in a modern world. I'm Linda and I'm here with my friend Paul. Hello Paul.
Just got busted scrolling on my phone.
Just got busted and there we go. So I'm not just the only rookie in the room at the moment. Hello, how are you? Well, I actually know how you are.
Yeah, I'm
busted.
I'm busted. Yeah.
I don't know how you're standing up and not crying.
Yeah.
Because the pain you're in. But having said that, let's talk food.
We digress.
I know, it'll distract you.
Yeah.
So how are you going apart from the obvious pain level?
Okay. And like seen as like you've got no topic today. Because so everyone knows, we always go, what are we going to talk about?
But as we're setting up.
And
I think it's pretty obvious to most people that we don't plan ahead.
Not sometimes. I mean, you come in prepared
times.
Most times. And the topics generally your department. But nonetheless, I've got one.
Which is good.
And I don't know how much time we can spend talking about it, but it was just something that happened this morning. So I went to the market this morning, so I've got a few functions or events or whatever you want to call them next week that I need to just get ahead for. So I've got some beef drying out, a few other bits and pieces. But I wanted to talk about the difference, and it's not to poo-poo one or the other, but the difference between shopping in a fresh food market versus a supermarket, especially when you want something specific. So I remember when I was growing up back in the day, butcher at a supermarket, there was a proper butcher there. Yeah. And I remember seeing, whole forequarters of beef get dragged in on the, rail system they had above the ground. I remember that. And one of my first ever jobs was actually working in a butcher's department in a big supermarket chain. Didn't last long, but because it was the most disgusting job of all time because I was the cleaning boy. But
ooh.
Yeah, and especially when you get on public transport after you've done your shift.
Covered in blood and gore.
Not the best.
People are looking at you.
Yeah.
Who is this young man?
Yeah, and I was a pretty dodgy character back then anyway, so
what do you mean
help.
It was, but anyway.
But no, so the things that you can get, so I tend to gravitate towards, like I've got my favourite butcher there, I've got my fishmonger, I've got my poultry guy, I've got my fruit and veg people, game people, so there's, you gravitate towards them because you're often buying the same sort of stuff, and we know that most home cooks generally, rotate across a few different things, but if you want to try something different, something specific, the good thing is to be able to talk to actually a butcher that has different parts. So I wanted a marrow bone from a cow. Now marrow bones are, how long would you say that is? That's
18 inches.
Okay.
20 inches.
18 inches. And that's with the knuckles on, right? Mm-hmm. Now there's a very specific part of the marrow bone that I wanted. So I wanted the centre part of the marrow bone, and I actually wanted it split in half lengthways, right? Now, if I go to the supermarket, yes, they have marrow bones there, and they're generally for dogs, and they're vacuum sealed, and you can't do it unless you've got a bandsaw at home. You can't do anything about it. Now, one of my butchers I know doesn't keep marrow bones, and it's the butcher that I generally go to, but I've got my secondary butcher that I actually get my pork from because my other guy's pork isn't as good. So I went over to him, and I know he has bones all the time. So I went over to him and I said, this is what I want, and it's literally no problem. And it takes 2 seconds, and I got exactly what I wanted. And everyone, like anyone that's listened to this podcast before, knows I'm a big advocate of the market, or markets and fresh food markets. But that's one of the reasons why. It's because you can get stuff that you just can't get elsewhere. Like, yes, you can talk about the price and the freshness and all the rest of it, and that's fine. But often at times you can get things that you just can't get anywhere else because big supermarket chains generally aren't bringing in forequarters of cows or whole pigs or whatever.
No, in fact, you've seen them unpacking.
And even fish to that.
And everything's already organised for you because that's what most people want.
Yeah.
And even fish. Convenient, grab it, go.
Even fish, you rarely do you see whole fish at a big chain supermarket. And, there's a lot of goodness in the bones. You've got a whole other dish you've got a base for a soup or a vichyssoise. We were talking about soup the other day.
Yeah.
So now your fishmonger will, without hesitation, fillet the fish for you, take the bones out, put the bones in a bag and the fillets, and you're away. But I just think sometimes if you're after very specific things, and I'm creating a very specific thing here, like I want marrow bone and I want to put it directly on top of charcoal so the marrow cooks, and then I'm going to put braised oxtail on top of that. Like, that's exactly what I want, and I was able to, the only way I could do it was by going to either a fresh food market or a butcher that I know breaks down whole carcasses.
Okay. Well, I do, you're right. I can remember very clearly as a kid going shopping with my dad was the cook, and doing that sort of stuff, getting, specifically a whole range of different, cuts like that, and talking to the butcher. And we didn't really buy meat back in those days. Now, that was 200 years ago, but we didn't really buy meat from the supermarket. They were really for other things.
But I even remember all the offal cuts being available in supermarkets.
It was a whole range of things.
You could get, I
tripe.
think tripe.
You could get tripe, yeah?
Yeah, my mother would get tripe every now and again. Because my dad was really old. Like, he was older than dirt. Like, he was old when I was young. Like, really, really old. So he was into all that old stuff. But tripe, lamb's fry.
Lamb's fry. You don't see those anymore.
But
brains.
If you want the brains, if you want that stuff.
And you and I have a mutual person that loves her crumb brains.
Melva.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's only one.
Yeah. Oh, no, I like brains.
But, do you?
Yeah.
Okay, then. I've never seen you cook them. But Melva, I know, as a kid, she grew up saying, well, she grew up on a farm in central Victoria, and she said you had to eat everything from nose to tail because there wasn't a lot of choice. Food was expensive and you had to value what you got. So you learned to be creative when you were cooking for a family, and you had to really make use of everything.
Yeah. And I mean, just even for basic stuff for me, like, I like, you often will smell when I'm making stocks and things like that. Like, the convenience that I have is we're right across the road from the market, and that's great. But I know I get a better end sauce and a little bit more viscosity when I throw a pig's trotter in with a stock. Being able to just go and get a pig's trotter.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you can do a lot with a pig's trotter, right? It's a million things you can do with it. But just being able to do that, it's awesome. It's extraordinary. To go to a proper butcher or a fishmonger or whatever, and that's the thing, that don't just buy what's in the display cabinet. If there's a particular thing that you're cooking or a recipe that you're following or whatever it is, I even asked the fishmonger this morning, I said, I don't know what made me think of it, but I haven't cooked skate in years, and I love skate. Do you
No.
Okay, so skate is essentially the wing part of like a stingray or a ray.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
It's quite delicious. It's a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Can be, if it's not cooked properly, you get a bit of that jelly sort of texture to it.
Yeah.
But delicious and very rarely used. And I actually said to the fishmonger today, I said, do you ever get skate? And he's like, oh, just tell me when you want it, we'll grab some for you. So if there's something specific that you're after, quite often these are the people to be asking, because they will either say yes, no, we saw it at the market, we can get it. Even the fishmonger said to me, is that seasonal? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, you're the dude, you know.
Well, I've got two questions for you, because this is something that you and I have actually never talked about. But first of all, tell me what you are going to do with the marrow and the oxtail. Is this for you personally?
No, it's for a training session for outdoor cooking.
Oh, okay. So this is one of the things you're doing next week.
Yeah.
So you're displaying that. Okay.
So it's a dish where I'm
showcasing a
roasting
appliance.
and I'm roasting the bones directly on top of charcoal.
Mm-hmm.
So part of the appliance has the ability to use charcoal and gas at the same time, and it's just the benefit is that I'm presenting to people in North America, so it's all done via video and all the rest of it. They get no choice about what I cook, so I cook what I want because then I get to eat it. So, and marrow is like that in of itself, like braised oxtail with some, like I remember still as a kid sucking the marrow out of lamb chops. Like it is delicious. So why not get a whole big hunk of it? Like it's not very good for you, right? But when it's roasted and you get a bit of like super rich braised oxtail with some marrow and you spread that on a bit of toast, oh yeah, that's close to my heaven.
That's the business.
Yeah.
Well, this is my real main question then. You've grown up with this and you're probably just on the borderline age of when people were cooking like this. I can remember, like with all the different offcuts and things.
Yeah.
I'm old enough, because I'm that much older than you, to remember growing up with this.
Yeah.
I wonder when so many kids have grown up now in their 20s, 30s, they're having families of their own, and we're surrounded by them at the moment, lovingly. How many, when so few of them would have grown up eating that, would have no idea what you're talking about?
Well, yeah, quite possibly.
They wouldn't even know to ask what is bone marrow. How would I what?
Yeah.
And one of the kids I love, Brendan, he is an avid meat lover, barbecuer.
Yeah.
He loves it. He's got this great barbecue outside, and he's got a meat probe. He loves it, loves it, loves it, and yet I don't think he would have ever had that in his entire life.
Probably not.
And any other secondary cuts
and even
of
not,
like that. Not the other bits around.
Even not the secondary cuts or the offal or anything like that. Even I distinctly remember, and it was more a financial thing for my parents because we weren't well-to-do, but we were given often, and I only found out in my teenage years, I think, or maybe I might have been 12 or something, but
close.
Yeah. We were given special chicken. And
chicken?
It was actually rabbit.
Okay.
Because it was super cheap, affordable. Yep. There was, 3 kids, 2 adults, family of 5. And, like I say, my parents weren't well-to-do. Yeah. And rabbit was cheap, accessible. When was the last time you saw a rabbit?
Hardly ever.
Like hardly ever.
Things like pressed tongue. My dad had that special...
Pickled tongue is...
My dad had one of those presses.
Yeah.
And it was just a plasticky thing he got from somewhere. But you put all them... And you'd have little discs and you could make burgers out of it, or you could do pressed tongue. And he loved tongue in jelly, aspic jelly.
Yeah, that's a bit beyond me.
Different.
But yeah.
Well, yeah, it was a bit beyond me as a kid. I could have easily gone vegetarian growing up because my dad also loved... I know a lot of people love black pudding, but when you're a kid and you're getting it for breakfast, it's like,
that's a bit much.
Really just want some Vegemite toast, Dad.
Yeah.
But my dad grew up with all that, and he loved it.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that most people under the age of probably your age would really...
35.
Yeah. I'm good at maths, and it's... No. But... I just think, how would they know?
Yeah,
how would people know?
I don't know.
These days about that.
We haven't done a lot, but we've done a few. I mean, it's interesting to see the rise in like secondary cut cooking, like the offset Texas smoker, brisket,
and the slow cooking,
brisket and ribs and all the rest of that. But they're still expensive cuts, right? When I look at something like that, it's really good to see people using what is a secondary cut and getting some great results out of it, and that's great. But I still go back to, and probably one of the most unpopular recipes that I've ever done on cooking with steam is the pig's head terrine.
I was going to say the pig's head terrine. No one's going to cook that, I reckon, because people don't know.
But it is one of the most delicious things.
The pig's cheek was really tender, fantastic.
Pig's jowl, and you see these cuts and these items being used on cooking shows, and you're kind of like, well, that's they're just being a chef or whatever. They're being a bit ridiculous.
But I don't think you do
anymore. You can't get it.
I don't think you do. I don't remember the last time I saw a chef actually talking about this sort of food.
Oh no, it still happens. No, it does. It still
Very
happens.
rarely.
But the problem is that it's not talked about as often as probably what it should be. Is because readily available, it isn't there anymore. So
Well, not in supermarkets.
Not in
because they
supermarkets.
can't stock that.
Yeah.
Not with their under pressure for everything to have storage, space, access,
yeah,
sales, turnover. But butchers, as you said, we've had this conversation. We know the joys of getting to know your local butcher.
yeah.
But I wonder, what would you do? How do you then...
But I mean,
this is
even from the perspective of, if we take the pig's head as like an extreme example, right, of something that most people would never ever consider cooking. If you actually just, you don't have to make a pig's head terrine, right? That's a whole lot of work. But if you actually cooked a pig's head, picked all the meat off of it, and threw that through a pasta, it will be the best pasta you'll ever eat in your entire life. And do you know what pig's heads go? And they're big, right?
Yeah, and they're...
Do you know how much a pig's head is?
Really, really cheap.
How much?
No, I've got...
Guess. They're really big.
$5.
Exactly. $5
Yeah.
for a pig's head.
And you get a lot of meat off that.
And a lot. Yes, there's fat and there's skin and there's eyeballs and snouts and ears and whatever. But if you actually look at what you get compared to...
You'd save money because you could do your own pig's ears for your dogs.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Compared to what you get from a kilo of beef mince.
Yeah. Which is a lot more expensive.
It's like a kilo of beef mince is at least double that price.
Easy.
And just from... Yeah,
But even something like... You just mentioned that, and I've just been churning back through my memory. I'm sure my dad used to make a lot of things with the marrow.
Yeah.
There was a lot of... It would be added to something.
Yeah.
It would be baked.
Well, there's lots of flavour in it.
Yeah, and you'd use it for other purposes as well. And yet I'm struggling to think of the exact use, but I know it was part of my dad's sort of trope.
Yeah.
That he'd, particularly in winter when he was making a lot of bigger meals.
I mean, I think a lot of different cultures use parts of the animal better than, let's say, what do I call it, the anglicised sort of side of things. I'm not one to go in for chicken feed, right? I've never understood that as a thing, but it's big in the Asian culture, and that's fine, but at least they're using them.
Yeah.
But you can't get them, anywhere but a fresh food market.
Yeah, that's true.
So very rarely, even a sort of local street butcher, chickens now come all wrapped in plastic, like a whole chicken.
Yeah.
And there's no neck, and there's no...
all those bits
I remember
inside,
back in the day, the first ever time I saw a duck, it still had its beak. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that you're going to eat the beak, but one of the first things I ever tried as an apprentice was using the neck, the skin around the neck to make a sausage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I filled that with, I can't even remember, right? It's that long ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just striking to me the amount of different cuts and parts and bits and pieces that you can get from just even wandering around and, asking. Talk to the butcher. I just asked him and he's like, yeah, no problem, I'll do that for you. And then I said, I organised it with him last week. Finding really good quality butcher's twine is quite hard. I don't know why. And
I saw that with you.
I always get a few links off him.
Yeah.
Because he's like, whatever, there's a couple of links. But I often trust, you saw it last week, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I often trust.
In fact, after you did that, I saw some in a supermarket and I grabbed some because I knew we'd run out and I knew I keep forgetting and I can...
Just take some of this because it's far, far better.
Okay.
And then I said to him, is there any chance that you can just get me a whole reel of it? He's like, yeah, no problem. Now, not everyone's going to need a whole reel of butcher's twine, but if you've got a recipe and you're looking at, I think in one of the recipes we did would show people how to truss a chicken.
Yep.
Really good technique
to
learn, and the beef and whatever. You can't buy that from the butcher at the supermarket.
No.
And if you do, you're going to get some sort of cotton that melts and in the oven and doesn't hold up to
No.
the heat. It's just.
But
it's
you're right.
those
It's
things-
not. It's not saying one's better than the other.
No.
But one has a different role.
Totally different role.
Totally different
Yeah.
role. And I can't remember the last time I reckon Doug would have gone into a butcher when he was buying dinner.
Yeah.
But he does know the brands of, the type of chicken or whatever he buys from the Coles and Woolies that he shops at here locally.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But if there's something specific you're after, ask. Like, it's amazing what you'll get. I went to my fruit and veg guy. I've been going to, like, since we started the website, right? And I said to him, I need some lemon verbena. Now, he's got to be in his 70s, I reckon. I think he's Italian. Older Italian guy. He's at the market every day. Like, he's an absolute machine. Both his sons work there. Like, he runs that joint. And he goes, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I said, can you go to the market and can you just get... So they're straight on their phone to one of their guys at the wholesale market. Is there any chance you can get to... Well, yeah, no problem. Come and pick it up tomorrow. So the funny thing was that I went and picked it up. He's like, oh, I know what that is. And I'm like, yeah, it's lemon verbena. He goes, I've got a tree of that at home. And then
and you didn't know what it was.
And so they use it for digestion.
Oh, okay.
And I was using it
okay.
for something totally different. And the next day he brought in like a shopping bag full. He's like, there you go, no problem, help yourself. But if you don't ask, like sometimes some of these ingredients that you think are unobtainable, they are.
You just need to plan ahead, don't you?
Well, to a degree.
A little bit. You've got to give them a chance.
Yeah.
But
you can't ask for stuff that's not
I must say
season.
I'm interested in exploring how we maybe... Because I know I picked up an old cookbook in a bookshop the other day. Down in Brunswick. Doug loves going into second-hand bookstores and remainder bookstores and stuff. And there was an older copy of a book and I picked it up sort of nostalgically. And I thought... Yeah, I probably, had a look and I put it down. I wasn't really looking too hard, but that's a sort of cookbook that would have had different, how to cook different things.
Yeah.
How to cook braids, how to crumb sweetbreads.
Yeah.
How to do all, try it well.
When was the last time you saw sweetbreads? Never seen them. Ever.
Very rarely.
Yeah.
Sometimes at the market, but very rarely.
Very rarely.
But they're things that, again, our friend Melva would still love when she sees. And when was the last time you went to a restaurant and you saw a steak and kidney pie or
we used to have
lamb's fry and bacon?
Yeah. There was the other one that we used to have when I was a kid was, I want to say it was deviled livers. Deviled kidneys.
Deviled kidneys?
Deviled
I remember
kidneys
that.
on toast. We used to have deviled kidneys on toast. And I remember sitting there, cold, wet, rainy Saturday when the footy was on a Saturday.
Very archetypical sort of Melbourne, Victorian sort of WA, South Australia type thing to do.
The footy was on.
Yeah.
Mum would make deviled kidneys. I never knew how she did it actually. Deviled kidneys on like crappy white bread toast.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, delicious.
Yeah.
Absolutely like divine. And my mum wasn't a bad cook. She wasn't the greatest cook in the world. But you never see that. Ever. It's funny, isn't it?
Isn't that funny?
We might have to do some of these recipes, I think.
I think we might have to explore it, Paul. And speaking of cookbooks, because I think there's an opportunity here for us to explore some of this and we'll have a think about this in our planning meetings.
Oh, okay, yeah. We laugh as though they exist.
At the pub. Speaking of a book, can I give you a book update?
Oh, yeah, please. Well, you're not giving me one. Give the listeners one, because I'm sure they're waiting with bated breath, Linda.
Well, it's just been this long, drawn-out process, as we know, but I have been speaking to the printers, and we are just about ready to confirm there's another just review so we can finalise the content, make sure that this final review is okay.
Yeah.
And then the print date can be set and delivery can be set. So very excited about that.
It's still available online.
Yeah, but it's but this one's got all the Fahrenheit conversions.
Yeah,
it's got
steam
percentages.
We've added we've added some sort of...
We fixed up the recipes that were bung.
Yeah, added some more information about general steam oven knowledge
at the
and
very
terminology.
back. Yeah, at the
all
very
that
back.
sort of stuff.
So we're very excited about this. It's just been... Nothing happens.
Well, it's hard when you're doing it by yourself and you've got no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
Well,
that's how we've done Cooking with Steam.
Yeah. We never claimed to be good at this, did we? I don't know, we might have said that. No, I think we've only said that we'd sort of, kick things off a little bit, but we never claimed
but
to be book publishers. Like, seriously.
To be book publishers is quite...
or videographers, or photographers, or...
And yet somehow here we are, all these
or,
years later we have. But no, I'm very excited about that. So, and book 2, you and I have been working on the content for that, so that's...
You and I is a stretch.
Well, I have been on my little bits and you have been on your bits.
Yeah.
Not collectively. We don't need to do it collectively.
But hopefully now that you have some better understanding of the process, once we've selected the recipes and the images and stuff like that, we'll be able to...
They're largely there.
Yeah, we'll be able to sort of put that together.
Now we know the process. That was interesting. But anyway... Another story. But I'm really interested to explore the...
And are we happy with the title of book 2? We did put it out there, but we didn't get any response from anyone.
So I have called, in our setup of book 2, I have called it Demystified.
Yeah, so if anyone's got any commentary around that, we'll be interested to hear. So you'll be able to buy, probably at some stage, I don't know, we'll figure it out, but you'll be able to buy both books. You'll have Demystified and Remystified. So it sounds like we're making something easy and then making it hard because we're mystifying them again. But I don't know. Anyway, I like it. We're rolling with it. But now the question comes: what do you call book 3?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just mystified.
Or just
just mystified.
There you go.
Still mystified.
Sorted. Still mystified. There you go.
Still mystified. You're not helping us.
Yeah, and thanks, because we couldn't get a better title.
Yeah. Well, we never said we're writers, did we?
No, we have never said that. I must say, we have never said that. Well, thank you for that. I've got my thinking cap on now.
Go to the market.
Yes,
get some liver, some heads, some.
Well, at least
chicken legs.
Have a think about.
Or ask your butcher if you've.
And look through if you've got any
recipe.
old cookbooks at hand, or talk to people that you know. This is a great conversation to have with some of the older people in your life.
But it's funny, isn't it? Talking about some of those things, they make comebacks, right? So last Christmas was a particularly noticeable one because everyone was doing it, especially in Australia. I don't know about overseas, but trifles were big. Yeah, but that's a similar theory, right? It's old school.
No, who would have thought? I mean, yeah.
That's old school.
It is old school. And
I mean, now they're all fancy and,
they're very different to the ones
beautifully presented and all the rest of it.
Well, the one you put together was pretty damn good.
Yeah, I know, but the point is that some of these older things, they're really, really good and they're cheap. And
people are looking for inspiration, I guess, too, because there's only 4,328,000 cooking shows on
there's only 95
channels.
million chicken recipes, right?
And so they've all been out there.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. So they're looking for something new.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
Paul, we didn't achieve anything, but no, I just thought it was interesting.
Well, thanks. Thanks for sharing.
Have a good weekend.
You have a good weekend. Take care of your back.
Now.
Yes, you are.
All
Take care. Happy cooking, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this podcast as we explore home cooking in a modern world. We'd love you to subscribe, and for more information, please go to our website, cookingwithsteam.com.